Welcome to the Impatient Entrepreneur Podcast, a show where we hear from entrepreneurs and business owners who are chomping at the bit to make their mark on the world. I'm your host, Lauren Quidar Cockrell. Now, let's hurry up and get to the good stuff. Hi, friends. Welcome back. Today, I'm here with Colby Wegter, a fellow agency owner who's on a mission to help folks like me avoid or recover from burnout. I, for one, am looking forward to a whole episode chock full of free advice. Colby, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's so great to be here, Lauren. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. We've had a lot of fun chats leading up to this, but I'm going to dive in and then we can back up a little bit about how we got to this point. But just first things first, Colby, are you an impatient entrepreneur?
100%. I'm patient on the outside. The impatience is on the inside. So it's kind of like duck on a pond type thing, but definitely fit your brief for sure.
Okay. But you're not like exploding impatience over other people. Like you just keep that for your own personal torment then?
No, yeah, I'm kind of the classic person, like somebody cuts you off in traffic sort of thing. I'm not the one who yells at them. I'm just like internalize and be like, not cool. And then off you go. It's the same thing with being impatient. It's just kind of like, it's never going to go away, but it's not necessarily rubbing off on other people.
Well, that's nice. I think, I do, as I grow in leadership, I really try not to let my impatience spill over on team members. That I'm like, that's my cross to bear.
It's a challenge for sure. Yeah.
We have things we've agreed upon as a team, and that is what we're moving toward. Anything else is just my own personal mania.
Yeah.
So you at the time of this recording, you've had a major entrepreneurial shift. Tell us where you've been up to this point and what is next for you.
Yeah, so I'll keep it super brief. Basically, I've been in digital marketing for 12 years, 8.5 of which was starting an agency with a couple other guys. And so we got to a global top 1,000 agency out of like several 100,000, which is really cool. It just kind of came to that moment. I was actually the youngest partner by like 20 years. But it was kind of one of those things, and it was completely amicable parting, no drama at all, which is amazing. But it was one of those things where I kind of got the ownership in the company I got early and without much experience. And so it was kind of reflective of like my younger age and experience and that sort of stuff. But as the company progressed, we hit 7 figures 5 years in, and then we got it to 2 million plus around year 6.5, 7. And a lot of that growth was directly related to individual actions I took, right? Which I want to be very clear, not an egotistical statement so much as just you are always, as someone like me, especially as an impatient person, I think of it more like evaluative. Like I'm always thinking, okay, if I've contributed to X, why does this stay the same? Where's the reflection and all that sort of stuff? And we're very startup culture. And so it was one of those things where I threw the Hail Mary numerous times to try and have the equity altered based on the performance. I have a saying, performance over presence. I don't care how long you've been here. And we can maybe dive into that a little bit more with like how I exited, because I wanted to make sure they were good as well. And my most recent hire with no experience actually was the prime candidate to replace me as an example, right? Because performance. But it just never really changed. And it makes sense. I'm 34, I'm going to be 35 this month. And they were well into their 50s. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if they give me more equity, that's less for them. And so it's kind of food on the table type thing, maybe not retiring as quick. I don't like the statement, it is what it is. I think it's very generic and blah, but I will use it here because it was kind of like, okay, that's the reality, right? So then you focus on what you can control. And so the major shift was I basically just asked myself the question. I was like, are you at your maximum value here? And do you see that 10 years from now? Because the agency is perfectly healthy. And then the real kind of bombshell question I started asking myself more recently, and we can talk about burnout, which was kind of the catalyst for it. But the question happened in the most recent months where can I reach my full potential here? Yes or no? And I'm a very, you'll probably hear all my sayings today, but another saying I have is I'm addicted to solutions, not feeling good. And so the answer to me was no, I can't reach my full potential here. And so it kind of was like, I could look at 8.5 years of my life wasted, or I didn't get to where I want to be. And none of that's true. It just got me to this point of saying, you are now, even though you have no guarantee on the other side, you can accept the answer. What else is there to discuss? Now's the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit long way, but contextually, that shift happened. I want to be very clear with other people. Like, I have a plan, but there is no guarantee, right?
Right, of course.
And when I told my partners, they were admittedly shocked and that sort of stuff, but again, handled it very professionally and very well. So I want to commend them. But they were all like, you don't have a plan? Like, why would you say goodbye to a salary and all that sort of stuff? And I said, you know, I didn't stress details. Like, I do have a plan without a guarantee, but I said, here's what I do know. I have A, a ton of self-belief, and B, I'm not lazy. So I'll figure it out.
Right.
So yeah, I'm day 3 as an entrepreneur with a plan that has yet to yield fruit, but I'm very confident in it. So that's where I'm at.
I think you'll be just fine. So tell us what's next in the vision for realizing your full potential.
Yeah. So like I said, the burnout, whatever, I had 2 burnouts in the same year in 2022. And the final one was December. I know the exact date, December 26th. I had sent a 93-minute voice note to our CEO with another Hail Mary about equity and numbers and all that sort of stuff. He didn't even listen to it, right? Which is fair enough. I was not in my prime state as a human being because I was completely stressed out and wasn't sleeping, eating, that kind of stuff, right? And so after I realized that he hadn't listened to it, I was like, that was kind of my last ditch in terms of like trying to go about this. And I don't like the human being who's behaving this way. That's not me. I'm a very calm person. And so I just started saying, okay, the caliber of people I have in my life, very nice and good people, not necessarily reach my full potential people. And that was totally fine. So my instinct was not, I need to chill out and take a vacation. My instinct was, I got to go find different people, like a new tribe, so to speak. Again, no plan there either, but I've served, I served over 1,000 clients in my career. And then I thought like, okay, well, I've never really built a personal network. I have a huge client network. And so I just went to LinkedIn. And I was like, I'm only connected with like 700 people. I've had more clients than I have in my own network. Right. And so I was just like, well, whatever. I'll just post every day in March, not knowing how LinkedIn worked at all. And I did that. And like right after that, I met somebody who was very good at LinkedIn. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun because I always liked writing. And I paid him to kind of show me the LinkedIn way. Turns out he had a whole bunch of other things to show me, right? He's like basically building a personal brand. So then it started making me kick around ideas of like, okay, obviously keep posting, but maybe there's something more to just trying to explore what else can I offer as an individual versus looking at services and pricing sheet as an agency, right? And so again, I was trying to find different caliber of people. It didn't start with, I'm going to sell something. It started with meet new people. And so I got on, in the course of like 18 months, I got on probably 250 coffee chats with people.
Wow.
Just to be like, hey, you look cool online. Are you cool in person? Like that kind of thing. And so it first started, and again, I'll keep it super brief, but like when I realized I could turn it into maybe a side hustle or making money or something, there was a 10-day period where I was having these coffee chats and 6 people in a 10-day period were like, this is really helpful. Can you coach me? And I said, I don't know. Like,
how would you do such a thing?
They're like,
how would you like to be coached? Be specific.
And the whole 9, like they were offering to pay me like 4 figures and all, like they were almost telling me their prices. And I was like, no, like I don't pay me because I am addicted to getting results and I've never done this before. So I can't ethically take your money unless I know. And so I said, but you said you got value. That's good enough for me to say, let's book another call next week. And if you get value next week, then we'll just keep it going until you don't get value anymore. And long story short, they were all solopreneurs and I was talking weekly with 6 people for like 5-6 months.
Wow.
And just solving any random thing. There wasn't, again, I didn't have an offer. Like I was just there to listen and help if I could. And so that was kind of like, what's the market telling you? You should help solopreneurs. And they were all beginners and that kind of thing. So I started a community for solopreneurs, got like 30 people in there. And that, not knowing at all what I was doing, they just kind of asked for it. They were like, "Hey, it's nice talking to you. It'd be nice if we could talk to other people too."
Right, right, right.
And so I just made it on a weekend, Noah Kagan style, with like no idea of how to make money with it. And just like, you guys asked for this, here you go. And then it was a couple members in that community who saw like movement in their business who were like, "Why are you helping beginners? You have a multi seven figure agency. You have way higher level skills than, hey, here's how to make a nice LinkedIn profile, or here's how to do X. Why don't you help those people?" And I was like so resistant because I was like, I'm trying to not be an agency owner my whole life. I'm trying to not do the same thing forever. And then, but the more and more they spoke, the more and more I was like, they're right. I shouldn't focus on beginners. I love helping them. I talked to a beginner yesterday, but it's not my core.
Right.
And so then I started just exploring it, not being like, here's an offer or anything like that. I just started talking to less beginners and started targeting more people I knew, particularly like marketing agency owners or creative director or creative agencies or copywriting agency, just agency people. And then I started asking them questions. And after a while, Lauren, all of them sounded just like I did 6 months before burning out. And I was like, oh, maybe this is the thing. Like, there's a problem here. And so once I like picked up on that, handful more conversations with a lot more pointed questions, and like surveying hundreds of agency owners as well. And it basically came down to two things. They're always chasing new business, as in like they have no predictability and they're doing everything. And then they feel extremely lonely because they're doing everything. Right. And I was just thinking, the moment I got out of my second burnout and actually just started messing around, didn't even have a plan, I was way less anxious. I was enjoying so much more, all that sort of stuff. And so the loneliness thing, totally get it. And it took me 18 months of just messing around to be that classic adage of just sell to yourself 2 years ago. It took me 18 months of resisting to be like, I should sell to myself from 2 years ago. And so, and so now like every agency owner I talk to, and I haven't formally launched the offer, I know exactly what it's going to be, but again, it's day 3 and I have a few more pieces to put together and I'm happy to talk about it. But I'm there to solve that problem. One is, I think everyone, I was just writing a post about it today. I think everyone's being sold a lie on lead gen. Chasing business is 10 times harder. Talking to a stranger is 10 times harder. It's the worst. Like, I hate it. Right.
Yeah.
But we doubled our revenue at the agency for 5 years straight. We didn't double our client roster. We didn't lose clients. And then we got more value out of those clients. Right. And it's
I'd much rather serve who I have now.
They already know, like, and trust you.
Rather than chasing down some strangers.
Exactly. And it's not as hard as everybody thinks when they think, well, they're already paying me this. Why would they pay me more? It's like, you think that way because you haven't actually asked them what they need. Right. So I don't want to get too tangential, but just as a really good experience or example, the agency owner I talked to yesterday, he's like, business is really good. I feel great. He's in a feast moment right now. It's like, I think I want to take it easy. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I appreciate you. That's the last thing you should do. Right. And it's all gas, no break. I'm not saying hustle yourself into the ground. I'm saying people are telling you they like this, double down on it. So you can pay for the next 10 months, 12, 20 months of your life, not the next 3.
Right. Yeah. Got it. I like to say, make hay while the sun shines.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not a crazy nouveau concept. I'm not selling anything wildly new. In fact, I would argue it's not new at all. It's just highly focused on what are the higher leverage things, as in like asking the right questions to someone already paying you money, than trying to convince anybody that you're worth their time. If someone's already made a buying statement, you're worth my time, make them say it over and over and over again. Right. And it feels way better. So that's the mission of it, for sure, of what I'm building.
Right. Yeah, we have seen a lot of success in expanding our thought partnership with our clients. Like as we build this trust, while we are known for public relations, particularly in our local market, we we find that we make really great websites and social content and email content because, we understand that at a strategic level. And so they're like, we love it when clients are like, oh, can you do all those things too? Heck yeah, we can. Let's go.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. I think a lot of business owners, particularly agency owners, they freak out because they're like, there's no guarantee of future opportunity. Mm-hmm. Right. They think like, I have to keep hustling or I have to keep looking for the biggest flaw you can take is the moment somebody trusts you is to start looking at the next person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the Super Bowl is won in the preseason. If you can win the first 30 days for a new person, they will stay with you forever. Mm-hmm. Like even if you don't get amazing results, they will stay with you for a couple of years.
Right. It's a hassle to change. Not that that's what we want to do. We want everyone to have a wonderful experience and get the results they need.
100%. But like my whole agency was predicated on Google's algorithm. So I was very clear with clients because we did SEO primarily. I was like,
gotcha.
You think you're paying me to get you better keyword rankings? You're not paying for that. I respect you too much to tie what you're paying for to the result you think you're getting. That's not what you're getting. I'm a time-saving agency. I'm a customer service agency. I'm an education platform. Like I'm telling you how this works in ways you understand, delivering output. The result is completely out of my hands. You're buying air.
Yeah.
I don't work at Google. Right? But it was always like my staff who were less confident to say those things. And obviously I trained them a lot, but they would always tie the result to something they couldn't control and their clients would leave quicker, or other agencies do the same thing and their clients would leave quicker. I'm not any smarter than anybody else. I have public education from middle of nowhere town. I'm definitely not good looking, right? Like this is, I'm so thankful this is audio, right? It's just literally like I was crystal clear on what they bought. Clients don't care about above and beyond. They care about, do I know? Above and beyond is bonus. You can't put your whole business on that strategy though, because it's impossible to deliver consistently.
Yeah. We definitely try to make deliverables very clear. They're not necessarily outcomes, they're deliverables. And then, not asking them to walk into a fog. It's, what you're getting when you engage with us. And that's been very fruitful also, rather than a lot of people go, oh, can I just buy 20 hours or whatever? No, you can't.
Yeah.
It's not what we're selling.
Yeah. And you mentioned at the top of the show of like any techniques and stuff, like if you have people on retainer models, one just simple one is always try and subliminally put in an extended time horizon, right? So whatever you're talking about today, say you get on a monthly call with a client or you're sending a wrap up or something like that, is I would always drop in those Loom videos, calls, whatever, be like, this is what it means today, but probably in about 12 months, it'll look like this, right? I'm just putting in their head constantly, I'll be here 12 months from now.
Yes.
All the time. All the time.
I've not done that. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. And that's what I told this agency owner yesterday too. I said, what do you talk about when you get on calls? Oh, just how the campaign's running, anything that needs to be changed, whatever. And I said, okay, so you don't know your clients at all. You know your service really well and what it does. You have no idea if you're solving a need or not. Well, they're paying me. That's not a good enough indicator. People pay to get results. That's on the table day one. If you don't get results, why do they pay you? So if you want them to keep paying you, results have very little to do with it in my mind, because that should be happening anyway. It's all about the service. It's all about the understanding. It's like open-ended questions, active listening, all that stuff. So too much to cram into 45 minutes, but it's just like, if you only talk about what you're doing, you have no idea what the client's thinking.
Right. I like that. Okay. So what do you do to fuel yourself? Are you a podcast person? Do you read books? Do you go into conferences? Like what, especially in this era of transition for you, like how are you shoring yourself up?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I would say 2 years ago, I was an idiot compared to now, right? Because I just started seeking, and like expanding your network. I couldn't advocate for it enough because it just gives you more opportunity. It increases your surface area for luck, improvements, all that stuff. Um, so I would say it's a mixture. I am always trying to keep myself, it's kind of like an energy allocation, right? So without sounding crazy woo-woo, I definitely try and block times for sure. But so long as I know it's forward movement, I am not such a stickler on, do I sit down and finish this all in one sitting? Do I dedicate all this time to watching the video and then acting on the video immediately that same day? No. Like I want things to process. And I also kind of mix in one of my favorite creators. He calls it vitamin P, just like vitamin play, right? And
Yes.
so everyone's trying to like hit the revenue goal or the profit goal or the I want to retire by the. I personally don't subscribe to any of that. I think it's perfect for them. It's can I swear on this podcast? Probably shouldn't, right?
I'm about to bleep it out.
It is BS for me. Okay. Because there is no guarantee that you get all that time.
Right.
There's no guarantee that you don't, I mean, I don't want to sound morbid, but like don't get in a car accident, whatever. Right. So to me, the mission is not what is the result? I don't care about the results. I'm striving to just enjoy and improve. Right. So if you are hustling 16 hours a day for a dollar figure, you work for money. You don't work for you.
Yep.
Or you work for status. You don't work for you or appearance or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about our kids before you press record. When I was peak anxiety, our first kid, June 2020, COVID prime, where there were no vaccines, that like nobody knew what was going on. I lived right in the downtown area of Milwaukee. There wasn't a single business going on. Like it was ghost town city, right? And we had just moved to Milwaukee, so we didn't have any family either in town. So it's like first kid, not rolling in crazy riches and in a completely new place. Figure it out, man.
Yeah.
And that was what, year 4 of my agency. So I took we were in the hospital for 36 hours. Within 10 minutes of getting home, I was back on my laptop working on the agency.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
That's nobody's fault but mine.
Right.
But when my wife and I got pregnant again and we had twins who are now a year old, I took 3 months of paternity leave, didn't answer a single email, didn't do it. Like, and so there's a whole, I actually just wrote about it recently, but paternity leave is what forced me to think differently about my habits with the agency and stress test it.
Yep.
Because A, babies don't call ahead. They're not saying, here's exactly when we're showing up.
Right.
And B,
No,
it was like, okay, I said for years, our agency is good, not great, because it is tied to the individual talent of the people leading it. And that's wrong. Right? If you want it to be great, it needs to be tied to the systems, the repeatability, and the result.
Yep.
Right?
Amen.
And so I was immediately like, okay, babies are coming. I am not going to do this again where I take 36 hours of paternity. I'm taking 3 months. So this place has to, at minimum, run without me for 3 months. How does that work?
Oof. It's a long time.
Yeah. And trust me, my staff was like super resistant. They were like, yeah, take the 3 months. And secretly they were like, God, I hope he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Hopefully he checks in every day.
Yeah. But I was like super firm. And again, too much to pack into 45 minutes. But the long story short was the babies were born in August. Again, I didn't know that. So around May, I started thinking like, what would I do? What does this look like without me? I have to accept that it's going to be a way lower standard. I just have to.
Right.
I don't like that. No one's happy about that. It's a non-negotiable. So how can I get it to the highest standard possible before I go? Right. And so I broke this down in a recent email, but it's basically like, what were the main things I did? First of all, I had a staff of 4 project managers at the time, all with a combined marketing experience of 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Right. Because I don't necessarily hire based on experience. The data hasn't proven to me that is outwardly better than culture.
Right.
So I had to keep it super simple because at the time I had 11 years of agents like marketing experience. So I have twice more experience than four other people. So it was like, okay, complexity, it's gone. Don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the first thing
Mm-hmm.
I did was I put just a one sheet of all of our clients because we had 70 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Primary project manager, secondary project manager, and then like four main things like what does the client care about most? What's their main communication style? What is one thing you need to bring to every call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like what happens if they don't get results? Just like kind of
Mm-hmm.
those four bullet points and notes. And then from there, I was like, okay, because again, we're customer service, we would have monthly calls with clients, and I was
Mm-hmm.
clearly confident on them. They were not, right? They were gaining
Mm-hmm.
confidence. One of my favorite quotes I learned this year is the best way to get 10 years of experience is 10 years. Like
Yeah.
you don't you don't shortcut it. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, I can't give them 10 years of experience. So what can I give them? Give them a talk track where they don't have to think. And this is what I do with clients
Mm-hmm.
too. But I gave them three key resources. One should come as no shock is like reminding them of what the client purchased. So what's our
Mm-hmm.
role? What's the client's role?
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Two was time horizon. What's the roadmap? You are here. We
Mm-hmm.
expect you to be here in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I'm trying to even remember what the third one was. I would say probably just as many SOPs as I could possibly do via like Loom videos and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And then
And what were the other agency owners doing? Like what are their roles in the company?
oh, my partners and
Your
stuff.
partners, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the funny thing. Like as of recording, I didn't just like cut and dry leave the agency. I went from a full-time partner to now a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
Because after the second burnout as well, I was like, I'm done asking for permission. I am very happy to ask for forgiveness because whether I like it or not, it's kind of annoying to me, Lauren, how much I care about clients. It's like I will always be ethical. And
Yeah.
so if I'm asking for forgiveness, it's because I tried to help a client and maybe it pushed a boundary, whatever, like nothing breaking any rules, just like something we hadn't done before.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were doing their own thing, but I will tell you, just in terms of like what I contributed to the agency, the reason I was so bullish and obviously looking back on it, it was like one of the worst things that turned into the best thing of, hey, you burnt out. So you truly know what you can handle and how you would do it differently. But everything happened for a reason. I was bullish about it because when I got there, we had zero clients, $0, right? Starting the agency with a credit card. And for the first 3 years, we were telemarketing, right? So our actual, I personally wasn't doing it because I was the project manager. So thank goodness, right? I've done telemarketing. It's the worst.
Yeah.
Hate it.
Hard pass. No, thank you.
Hard pass. And so, yeah. So that was how we got business for the first 3 years, right? And that got us to around like 700K a year in revenue. And then finally we stopped messing around and we're like, why don't we apply our own methods to our own brand that we do for clients, SEO, inbound marketing, that sort of stuff. Well, it's a classic case of like a web designer has a terrible website because they're spending so much time on their clients kind of thing. We were the same thing.
Sure.
And so my partners don't know how to do that. They're salespeople, right? Because I helped deliver marketing for so long, like I have a decent amount of technical knowledge. And just a curiosity to like learn this stuff all the time. Like I still keep track of what Google's up to pretty regularly, even though I kind of hate Google because they ran my life for 12 years.
Right.
But anyways, like, so I just started doing these techniques and I forecasted to my partners. I said, I think we could probably be like a fully inbound, cut off the telemarketing, all that stuff, sometime between 12 and 18 months. 7 months later, we cut it off. We were getting enough business, right? And now the business gets consistently probably like, I would say 20 to 40 inquiries a week, but more, but like reasonable, like people who can afford us and all that. 5, like qualified, which isn't bad, like 20%.
Great. It's great.
Yeah. So that happened. And then we went from 700K to like 1.5 really quickly. And then we went from 1.5 to 2.5. And my ownership basically stayed the same. Right. But like I had
Mhm.
written every single word on our website. I designed the website. I did all of like the linking. I did all of the emailing and follow up. And I was still delivering for like 45 clients on my own and managing 4 people.
Mhm.
No, it's no wonder I burnt out, by the way.
Right, that's too much.
But but it was one of those things where it's like, you know, at the time I had 5% of a company that I had contributed
Mm,
several $1 million to.
right, right.
And so I forget your original question so much. I think you were like, what were the partners doing?
Well,
So
like what were they doing? You're talking about 70 clients and running this
yeah.
team so you could take a 3 month break. That's like, well, there are other people at the helm where they're not, or there weren't.
Yeah. I mean, again, if they say they listen to this podcast and all that sort of stuff, I don't think anything I'm saying would surprise them. Maybe they would be
Mhm.
offended or something, but I want to be extremely clear is like they brought their own value to the agency.
Sure.
Absolutely. Theirs was more like a philosophical, cultural. Of course, our CEO, he was our top salesperson. So, like, when the
Hmm.
softball lead would come in, of course, he closed them and all that. I didn't want to do sales. So great. Like, I'm
Mm.
so glad that happened.
Hmm.
Um, but for me, it was my value. Again, I'm addicted to solutions and like performance.
Mm.
My value was tied directly to numbers,
Hmm.
right? But the compensation wasn't. And so it was just
Right,
kind of clear.
right.
But
It's out of balance.
it's the age old thing. It's like, okay, then I'm not truly an owner or a partner here. I'm an employee. And you
Hmm.
just have to acknowledge that.
With a different comp package.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I have been in a situation like that, not quite as black and white in some ways, but was a minority owner in a business, and the I ultimately left because we came to a disagreement about some staffing. Like,
Hmm.
we had gotten too bloated, and economically just made a lot of sense to winnow it down and just be lean and mean and rebuild. And we had this whole plan in place to do the layoffs. And I got to the office in the morning, just, hadn't slept at all. Like, I'm like, but I can do this. I can do this.
It's the worst.
And the owner said, I changed my mind. I can't do it. And I said, well, we came up with this whole plan. Like, we're gonna go out of business if we don't do this. And it was, no, I'll take out another line of credit. I just won't do it. My name's on the door. That's it. That's the decision. And I just then, okay, well, I have to leave then at some point. Like, there was sort of a succession plan. I was definitely heir apparent, but like, I'm not going to inherit this business. Like, we do not agree about this. This is not the right move. I'm going to be looking for other options. And so that ultimately had to part ways after that. I mean, it wasn't like immediate. It was probably like a year later that I finally left, but it was like, okay, well, it's yours to deal with then.
Well, and I applaud you because like everything you're saying is so common. I have my own story with that too, but like I applaud you for sticking to your values and that sort of stuff. Like the business is not fun.
Mm,
Business is only fun when you change the lens in which you view it. Like
right.
it is entirely your control, like whether you enjoy it or not. But business as a
Hmm.
nature, it's not a charity,
No.
right?
No.
Like it's funny what you describe. I have obviously I talk to a lot of business owners and friends and all that sort of stuff. I'm just kind of a nerd for this stuff as well. And I feel like I don't even know anything yet, right? Like there's so much more to learn. But one, I really love the people problem side of things. And
Hmm.
what you basically said to me, my immediate interpretation was just like no spine,
Yeah.
right? And you are in the wrong line of work if you don't have a spine as a
Yeah.
business owner because there's this thing about competence and control and like calm from the top. And I think it was like the Harvard Business Review in COVID times. They did the whole like quiet quitting study and stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it was something like the general philosophy prior to that study was that, oh, people left because benefits weren't that good or compensation
Hmm.
was poor, or, they didn't have enough flexibility in their work. No, 80% of the people who left during like from 2020 to 2021, if I recall, 80% left because of incompetent management.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I believe that. And it's interesting because when I started, I just was hell bent. I'm not going to have any employees. I don't want anyone relying on
Mm.
me for their mortgage payment. I don't want to manage people. It also come out of a really toxic situation when I started my company. Not the one I was just talking about, but something deeply, deeply unsettling. And so I was just like, I'm done. It's me. It's me. I will rely on myself only. And then things changed. I mean, I became a parent for the second time. Right as I started my business, and just like a year or two later, this maternal energy was kind of coming out of me. It's like, I want to take care of this team. I want to, like, that. I get almost more satisfaction out of building culture in a team than I do any other part of the business now, which I was not expecting 7 years ago.
So how do you feel that transition for you in terms of your approach to business? Like, did you start doing things differently?
Yeah, everything's different, I would say. I mean, the business hardly looks the same in any shape or form other than me running it.
Sure.
Than 7 years ago. I mean, we are at the time of recording, we're seven people, and how we do things differently. I mean, just being able to have a team and help them find their purpose, and embrace that and do work that they're really proud of, and as we serve clients together. I mean, there's just, I could go on and on and on, which I shall not. But is a really powerful transition where it's like, okay, I'm now becoming the fullest version of myself as, a leader for clients and a leader for the team. And, people are going to come and go. That's just the nature of business. And, but, the people I have right now it's so gratifying to get to work with such wonderful individuals who contribute for themselves and as themselves, but then also as a team, and watching them work together and form their own relationships and little micro teams and all that it's just really cool.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah. One of my personal beliefs is like success isn't how much money you have in the bank, it's the people you collect.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so like
Very much so.
to have that feeling around what you've done and to have it be a 180 from what you originally thought business
Mm-hmm.
was, then
Yeah.
it turns into this whole, instead of a mile wide and an inch deep, it's a mile deep of just like, what are we truly trying to accomplish? It's basically enriching other people's lives. Like it's impact. It's those
Mm-hmm.
sorts of things. I'd say to my employees all the time, I would say, I want to make you a better person, not an employee.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I would
Mm-hmm.
love for you to thrive here. But if there ever comes a point, I work for you. If there ever comes a point where I'm not helping you fulfill your potential, you got to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
ironically, I asked myself those questions, right? And answered accordingly. But like genuinely believe that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just ended up hiring a bunch of like newer people,
Mm-hmm.
people not with a wealth of experience, or I would even say like a ton of confidence. But you could see the transition from whatever you say, client, to no, I'm going to stand firm to the values, to out of
Mm-hmm.
respect to you, and all these sorts of things. And that was one of my favorite interview questions that I thought it would be like a really easy answer, but every time I asked this question in interviews, it would take like several seconds for people to respond and say, is it better for the client to respect you or like you?
Mm-hmm.
And they would
Mm-hmm.
just take forever. It's an obvious answer, but they had never, being liked was super high
Yeah.
on their priority list,
Mm-hmm.
right? And having impatience with actions and patience with results, to me, it's a lot more of all I care is that you get to where you need to go. How you feel about me doesn't matter at all, right? I would love for you to like me along the way,
Yeah, yeah.
but if that supersedes what is meant to be accomplished, then I no hate me. I'd rather you hate me and get to where you need to be
Mm-hmm.
than like me
Mm-hmm.
and be of less than version.
Right. The liking can complicate things unnecessarily. It's like just it's much cleaner to be respected and like, yes, we're focused on you and where we're trying to take you. I mean, it'd be nice if you like me. That makes it a little more fun.
Well, and I feel like there's a general attraction. People will like you more if you are absolutely firm in who you are.
They're not mutually exclusive.
No, not at all.
Okay, so take us back in time to when you were a little boy growing up, and whether someone made you feel like a part of you was a weakness, or you just kind of perceived the world as, okay, maybe I'm a little annoying in this way, but was there a part of you that you felt was a weakness, but now as an adult you realize it's actually your superpower?
Yeah, it's gonna sound really terrible. I'll do it as a quick story. Not so little. I was 15 at the time. So I grew up on a farm, middle of nowhere. House didn't even have any air conditioning. Like just picture Hickville, and that was it, right? But we had all of these outbuildings on the farm, and my dad came to me one day telling me with one of the rundown buildings, we weren't using it or whatever, paint's chipping, all that. He's like, hey, go scrape that building. We're going to repaint it. And I'm over here being like, it's barely standing. I think that kind of thing.
Can I just push it over?
Yeah. But we're all like kind of nurtured to try and please our parents and that sort of stuff, right? So I went out there, grabbed the scraper, climbed the scaffold, put it up to the paint, and then just like, what is this for? And I put the scraper down and I went inside and played video games like a classic teenager. Right. And so the next day, my dad's like really annoyed and says, get out there and go scrape the building. And I do the same thing. I go out there, climb the scaffold, put the scraper on the wall, and I set it down. I come back and I play video games. And by the third day, he didn't ask. So interesting. I think the weakness I had doesn't perfectly fit your prompt, but it was one of those things. A weakness I had before was kind of into that people pleasing of like, I don't want someone to be mad at me, even if I don't believe in it. And obviously I reacted in a very teenager way. Just, give me a pass. Our brains aren't fully developed till we're 27. So
right.
A lot of gaps in there at that age.
Yeah.
But I've basically used that since, where it's just like, okay, so long as I feel like I have conviction in what I believe is right, everything else is kind of secondary. And like I feel like I've had a lot of moments in my adult life where I've actually tried to help other people understand this, like particularly family members. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. And my siblings would come to me all the time, something about like people pleasing, mom, this, dad, that, whatever. And I would just say, why do you need that? Right. And so I don't need to get like too deep into familial stuff, but it's just like, it's the same thing as with the agency, right? Oh, I'm not an owner. I'm an employee. Just like, look at the data, right? Are you living your life or are you living somebody else's? And so I would lean into them. I would say everything comes down to values. It's not opinions. It's not hobbies. It's not interest. None of that. It comes down to values. So if your values are to help as many people and like be a good person, you are actually taking away from what you're meant to do by thinking about this. You should be more selfish, because the more selfish you are, the more people you will help, because your values are saying, I want to help people and be a good person.
Right.
So you're letting someone live rent free in your head instead of actually going and accomplishing your mission.
Right.
Yep.
Every yes is a no to something else.
Yeah. And like, again, I come from small town and I wanted to get out of there. So I lived in Dublin for a while, and then we moved to New York City, and like I've been in cities ever since, and they think I'm crazy. Like I'm the only one. Why would you live in a crowded space? It's like, I love it. Like it's
Yeah.
not, I hopefully, I mean, if you live in the suburbs, you're a cool person, but like I could never live in the suburbs, right? It's just not, I don't like when everything looks the same. I don't like when everyone behaves the same. Like I just give me nuance, give me weird, give me kind of uncomfortable, and I'm a happy person. Right.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so leave us with a piece of advice for our listeners that can make their lives and businesses stronger and better today. You've given us a few so far, but send us home.
Yeah, maybe just reinforce the message of like know who you're working for or what you're working for.
Yeah.
If you're working for the dollar, own it.
Right.
But know what sacrifice you have to make on the other side. Right. If you're going to work for the dollar is your master.
Yep.
Money to me is option, safety, and impact. And if you set this arbitrary dollar goal, nothing wrong with that. What does it mean to you? Like when you get it, what does that do for you?
Right.
Because for years, you know, I was like hand to mouth for years. I like lived on $5 a week or a month, depending, in college. I would, when everyone else was donating plasma to like go have a good weekend, I was donating plasma to pay rent. Like I was not good for many years financially, like skipping meals, all that. And so for years, I was just like, I want to make 6 figures in a year, which was like astronomical to me, right? I want to make 100K a year, blah, blah, blah. Guess what happened when I got it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. All right. So it's,
you didn't magically change.
No, like I vibe with it so much. I guess I'm like a stoic because I just picked up like Ryan Holiday stuff lately.
Yes.
And I listened to one of his podcasts and he goes, yeah, I was mowing the lawn when I hit bestseller for the first time. And somebody called me like, how do you feel? And he goes, I don't feel anything.
Yeah. I'm mowing the lawn.
Yeah. The mission is the same. Like he didn't write the books to be a bestseller. He wrote the books because he has a mission. Like my mission, it's very generic, but it's to help as many people as possible. So my offer coming up is, what do I know best? Keeping clients for stupidly long periods to live a less stressful life from an agency perspective. And I still failed 1 billion times on that way. It wasn't until the last 2 years I even understood what I had. Right. But it scares me, Lauren, how a lot of the people I have these chats with, some of them have been in their agency for 15 years, 20 years, and they still don't know who they are or why they do it.
That's sad, actually.
But it's never too late. But that's my advice is like, do not be emotional about what or who you work for. Be honest. And I would love to give like a guru hack or like, here's a way to make 100K in the next couple of weeks. And I have plenty of ideas on that, but that is, who cares? Like that stuff only matters if you know why you're doing it.
Right. Yeah, I love it. Okay, tell us where we can find you in this new era of your life.
Yeah, so I'm dialing all that in. I'm actually proud enough to say where to find me. These are things that are going to be continue to be contributed to. So what I'm calling my offer, which will be a collective for agency owners to build less stressful businesses by retaining clients instead of chasing business. That's going to be Autonomy Agency. So that's live right now, autonomyagency.com. I want to be super clear. I don't want to work with just anybody. It is not the cheapest thing in the world because it's going to give outsized returns. So absolutely application required. And I'm not going to say yes to everyone. But other than that, you could find me just for my name. As far as I know, there's no other Colby Wegter on earth. So just give that a Google search. You'll find colbywegter.com. You'll find my LinkedIn, which I post to every day. And then as a recording, I just published my first YouTube video. I'm going to try and do a lot more of that to try and just have deeper dives into things I've learned along the way. So that would be it.
Yeah. We'll put it all in the show notes. All right, friend. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. Thanks, Lauren.
Likewise. Thanks for listening to The Impatient Entrepreneur. Love the podcast? Be sure to share it with a friend or colleague and give us a 5-star review. You can also chat with us on Instagram or Facebook at The Impatient Entrepreneur Pod. Want to star on a feature episode? Head over to theimpatiententrepreneur.com to inquire. Thank you to the team at Quidar & Co. for believing in me and bringing this podcast to life. And thank you to Carson Childers for mixing and editing this episode. I can't wait to see you next time.